What is going on, everyone? It's me, Sade Burrell, stand for something. Hey, I had to share this with you all. It was just I just got off a call with a group of people, and we were on that call for 2 hours, talking about no other than Paranomics. It's a book reading club, right? For black people. I know people are like, oh, I want to join. Hey, I don't. Hey, and you ain't about to make me feel bad for saying that it is for black people. We are taking Paranomics principles and we are applying it to the black community. So shout out to Nikki for inviting me out to speak on chapter 3 of Paranomics. I truly appreciate it. Now, the power of a community. Do you understand that I was on a call for 2 hours? That's 120 minutes with people not talking about gossip, not talking about people. We're not bringing down any. We're talking about how we can elevate our community. And we had 2 hour discussion about this. And I was brought out to speak on these particular things because not only am I reading Paranomics, but I'm trying to implement Paranomics in my community. And so, by the way, if you're in San Diego, I'm going to begin implementing Paranomics as soon as this pandemic is kind of over. But even while the pandemic is going, I'm actually going to start a community of people, and my goal is to start meeting at the Malcolm X Library, hopefully like on certain days, and we began to practice Paranomics, actually put them into play. So, anyways, I'm a huge fan of people who love to grow, people who want to grow, and people who have that desire to grow. So can you imagine being on a call for 120 minutes with people who want to grow? Black people, all black people who are reading Paranomics and are trying to put them into practice. This is something that most people probably will never really truly understand, right? So, for me, Paranomics represents so much. Like I didn't know about Dr. Claude Anderson when I was first introduced to Paranomics, right? I didn't know who Dr. Claude Anderson was or anything. And then someone told me about Paranomics. The pandemic hit, and I began learning about Paranomics. And I started learning that as black people, that we have so much power. So not only do I have Paranomics, by the way, there are several other books you need to read too. I have all of his books. Every book he's ever written, I have. Right, Black Labor, White Wealth, and I also have it's a CD that goes along with it as well. And so as time goes on, I'm dedicating this. I'm gonna give this book to my daughter, and then this book right here, I'm going to give to my son. And so. It's so important that black people, like, can you imagine a group of black people on a call for 2 hours just talking about how we can help our own people? That is beautiful. It is the most beautiful thing ever. And when you get around people who don't gossip, people who aren't talking about the latest reality show, people who aren't talking about, oh, did you hear about this new challenge? We did none of that. 2 hours straight, all we talked about was how we were going to implement principles from Paranomics into our community. Why? Because one, Dr. Claude Anderson is the Black Moses of all time. All right, he is leading us to the promised land. He's leading black people to the land where we need to be economically. And it's so important that as black people that we began to listen to these things, right? We were talking about, chapter. I'll give you guys a little taste. Matter of fact, let me give you a little taste of chapter 3. That way you can understand why I'm so passionate about chapter. Let me talk about this. Okay? Chapter 3 is called Building a Competitive Community. Dr. Claude Anderson talks about how Black Americans must therefore build a functional communities within which they can ethno-aggregate, then practice group economics and group politics, right? A functional community can best be defined as grouping of people who come together and organize for their own self-interest. rather than misdirected altruistic interest, right? So altruistic, sorry. Once built, whether based upon geographical boundaries, ethnic or racial commonality, a community cares for the collective interest of its members, right? And then it says here, and I want you guys, Dr. Claude Anderson talks about this. He talks about the difference between a community and a hood. Many people don't know the difference between a community and a hood, and a lot of us in the black community don't even know what the difference between a community and a hood is. See, a community, it's a physical place. It's a physical place, and it says here it's a community of mind and physical structure. It's space, right? And I'm gonna give y'all my example. Some of y'all ain't gonna like it, but I'm gonna say it anyways. Give me one second, right? And so he says in this that neighborhoods are not enough. On page 65, he talks about neighborhoods not being enough. He said neighborhoods are not enough. Let me define to you what a neighborhood, because a community functions. A community, you can go somewhere to buy stuff. You can go somewhere to, you know your neighbors, you talk to them, etc. A neighborhood, neighborhoods are problematic. This is what Dr. Claude Anderson said. For any group seeking empowerment. Unfortunately, most black Americans live in neighborhoods, not community. A community signifies commitment and a potential for power. Neighborhood does not. Okay? Neighborhood does not. Right? And so then it says 95% of the annual disposable income for black people it's disposable income with people who live outside of their neighborhood. So 95% of black people spend money outside of their neighborhood. Right? It says black America impoverishes itself and impedes the growth of functional community. He said one bit. All right, now let me tell you, when black people say, "Hey, we had a community before we began to do we want to socially integrate into society." It says one benefit of Jim Crow segregation was that it forced blacks to build what could appropriately be called a community. Unlike neighborhoods where people simply live in the same area, during Jim Crow segregation, black Americans were unified with the code of conduct. They lived together because they had the same interests and needs, but equally as important, they trusted and depended on each other. We don't trust each other nowadays in the black community. You want to know why we don't trust each other? Because we don't have community. We have neighborhoods. So if I told you, hey Molly, I want you to walk outside naked. Trust me, no one's gonna look at you. You would say, heck no, Sade, I'm not doing that. Right? The reason you would say that is because you probably don't trust me. But if it was someone I trusted, some people say, I still wouldn't do it. No, if it was someone I trusted, I'd be like, ain't nobody here. If they said ain't nobody here, ain't nobody here. I trust. We have community because I trusted you. We buy from people we trust, right? That's why people go and say, please write a review. Because if you write a good review, people will feel more likely to trust you. All right, let me get into this real quick. I want to share this story with you guys that I shared with the group, which is powerful, and I'll never forget it. When I was in San Francisco, about 2 years ago, I was walking down. I went to Chinatown, and it's literally Chinatown. You would never know it's America. It doesn't look like, it's Chinatown. And so I was talking to this lady, and she said, my mother's lived here for over 35 years. She doesn't speak English. I said, huh? Your mother lived here for 35 years, and she doesn't speak English. She said, no, she don't speak not one lick of English. I said, how does she survive? Like, English is the language of the majority of Americans. Sorry. I said, English is the language of the majority of Americans speak. How can she not speak English? She said, she just stays in the community. Oh, the power of a community. When you don't even have to learn the language of the overall, country. The majority of the country speaks English, but you don't have to because you have a community where you can go, where you can buy food, you can shop, you can still take care of your family, you can get a job. Because if she works in Chinatown, she don't need to know English. Everyone speaks Chinese. The power of a community. I'm gonna leave you guys with that one right there. There's a power of community. By the way, if you are black and you want to read, join the book. If you want to join the book club, Paranomics, please DM me. I will make sure that you are on the list to join Paranomics, the book club. I know people are like, well, Sade, what about if you're not black? I'm sorry. This is something that's for black people, and I'm not gonna make you. I'm not gonna allow you to make me feel bad for doing something strictly and solely for black people. President of the United States ain't never done nothing for black people. Obama never done nothing strictly and solely for black people. But Sade Burrell and the people who I roll with, we do things strictly and solely for black people. That does not mean we don't like or don't love other people. So I have 2 children. If your 2 children came to my house and I had to choose between, it was only two pieces of food left, and I choose my 2 kids, that don't mean I don't love the other kids. That simply means that those are my children, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure those children are taken care of. Doesn't mean I don't love the other kids. I could deeply love those kids, but I take care of home first. So I'll leave you all with that. I'm not going to let y'all make me feel bad. But if you want to join, if you're black and you want to join this group, you want to learn more about Paranomics, it's important. By the way, if you think that the President of the United States is going to save you, or if you believe even your local government is going to save you, please, you need to join Paranomics and you're black. Y'all have a great day. It's me, Sade Burrell. Stand for something.